Hi, Rommy. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Me too. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and the thing is that I don't know very many people that I've actually had conversations with that are also students of David Bingham, and I I can't even begin to express, explain, share, comment on the life-changing value information that it is to be a student of David Bingham or to continue sharing his message.
Mhm.
Necessarily that, I'm saying like, oh, you've got to go study with David Bingham, but I'm saying that to carry on this message, I feel like anyone who's, been able to watch the videos, have conversations, be part of that energy, be self-realized, and turn around and share it with others. It's life-changing, and I know you feel the same way. But I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Absolutely.
I also want to say that I am very excited to talk about your book, Peace at Last. Um, with self-realization, I don't know how a better title that you could have given that book because it really is that says it all. Three words: peace at last. Self-realization is peace at last. And a lot of people say they want peace of mind,
Hmm.
but I say peace from the mind.
Yes,
And it makes a really a big, huge difference, wouldn't you say?
absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Really. It's, yeah, so many of these things. And as you were saying, peace at last, that really sort of puts it all together. I was also thinking it's lasting peace as well. And I couldn't say that back then because that was just short after the realization moment.
Hmm.
And I'm open to anything changing, right? So whatever happens can happen. I don't know, and but until now, and it's been 2 years now, it's also lasting peace.
Yeah.
There's this constant inner peace, this constant quiet joy that's always there, no
Yeah.
matter what happens. And the great thing is that what David did, um, and he keeps repeating that in different words. But what really hit is you are it, right? It's not an experience. It's not something to look for. It's not something to cling to and to hold on to because those things change, right? The experiences come and go. And this is something I have been missing for 20, 25 years.
You know, for me, it was interesting. What I realized was I was trying so hard to grasp the words of what he was saying.
Yeah.
And so when he said, when I first started hearing him speak, and so when he said, um, don't personalize it. Instead, you want to say there is uh, effortless impersonal awareness of, and then
Yeah.
however you complete the sentence. And so I found that I was making it like a mantra,
Hmm.
like a doing.
Yes.
So when something came up, I would be like, there is effortless impersonal awareness, like, okay, if I just say these words, then I'm
Mhm.
protected
Exactly.
and it's going to go away. And it took me a bit
Yeah.
to understand that David was not teaching us what to do.
Hmm.
He is pointing to what we are.
Yes.
Big difference.
Everything.
Huge. Like,
Yes.
whoa.
Yes.
And it's so funny how words really get in the way.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a literal shift of perception. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that well, for me and the work that I do,
Mhm.
it's like it took it's like it's like okay, now all that stuff, yeah, let's just cross that all out because you can just go from here to here if you're uh oh, I don't know, ready, open,
Yeah.
inviting, whatever the words are. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it just words really get in the way.
Hmm. I know that David always calls it mistaken identity, which
Mhm.
is fantastic because it's literally true. And in my book, I always thought I wanted to write look right, but I was afraid people may think I mean look right direction. But that's how I felt it. And if, especially in the first couple of weeks, like, oh my God, you just have to look right. You just have to look correctly.
Yeah,
So you don't have to make yourself be aware, like be impersonally, effortlessly aware. You just have to notice what already is that.
yeah,
You know, what's already doing that. And that is just it. It's so subtle, but that it really is that makes all the difference. And that goes from efforts to effortless. Look at what's already effortless always.
these words might sound trite, but it's clear seeing.
Hmm.
I think it was Sailor Bob who used to say that all the time. It's clear seeing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what does that mean? Clear seeing. And when you try to figure it out, when you
Mhm.
try to, what does that mean? Let me
Yeah, yeah.
Google that. Let me
Mhm.
chat GTP that. And
Mhm.
it's like when you're using the mind, you're never going to find it. It's I often find these words, I guess, going around in the mind saying, looked for, it cannot be seen, felt for, it cannot be felt, that kind of thing. And the mind wants to go, what do you mean? It's not something you can see or feel or speak about. And it's the isness.
Yeah.
It's it's the isness.
Mhm.
That's it. We can just stop the recording. We're done.
That's it. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Enjoy everyone. No, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's words and yeah, on the one hand, words make it difficult because somehow they invite the mind into the party. And but it's always like that. It's a paradox, right? Everything happens simultaneously in a way. It's also the right words that somehow make you see it sometimes. Because I've heard certain things for so many years and I've been reading them and I intellectually understood, but it didn't do anything. And then sometimes the exact same thing was said using slightly different words, and all of a sudden there was clear seeing, and I can't explain it.
Well, I can tell you that it was words that, well,
Hmm.
I don't know,
Light
like
bulb.
light bulb for me.
Yeah.
I think it was your first interview with David when you
Mhm.
said, "Oh, it's effortless."
Yeah.
And like I played it back and I'm like, "What is she talking about? What is she talking about?" And then I realized, well, wait, every time I go, "What is she talking about?" That's efforting. So
Yeah.
what would it mean to be effortless? And
Hmm.
so just sitting there and letting the conversation wash over me, because I can tell you, I have watched every single conversation David has on his YouTube channel
Hmm.
more than once.
Yeah.
I have taken notes. I have, transcribed. Oh, maybe this is what I need to remember. And all of that, when it was all said and done, and finally I'm like, oh, all those notes went in the trash because they were not needed. And it can be so difficult to accept that
Hmm.
what you need will be given to you in the moment,
Yeah.
always.
Yes.
And boy, that's a hard thing to trust.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
I grew up in a childhood where no, 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 no.
Mhm.
That's just trust. No, not going to happen. And then when you realize that the whole seeking is simply a return to love.
Mhm.
And then somebody might say, well, what does that mean, a return to love? But that's the best way that I can explain it. And it's like someone says to you, I love you.
Mhm.
And you really hear it,
Yeah.
only this time you hear it and you feel it like the very first time.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's such an amazing, it's a bodily experience as
Mm.
well as an out of body experience. And you want to say, whoa, where did that come from? That's not normal. And the mind wants to just click in right away.
Yeah, that's right. It's been used so many times for everything basically in our life.
Yeah.
And somehow there seems to be a payoff for using the mind. At least that's what we're being told and what we tell ourselves. In hindsight, I would say um, it's best to really use it for grocery lists, to figure out a computer system. I really tend to give it something to do or design a garden, kind of use it as a sort of AI agent, because that's in a way what it is. And for everything else, to use the contraction and expansion that David also talks about, because that is the intuition speaking as well. So when something is coming in and you feel expansion, that's probably something worth doing or
Yeah.
worth thinking or worth singing or dancing about. And if there's a contraction, to just wait a second and not feel forced to act upon it. That makes a huge difference. Because that's also something I like very much in David, that he tries to alleviate suffering in daily life. So
Yeah.
it's not strictly only about realization, which many other teachers talk about. But then it's like, yeah, but what, I don't feel it, or yes, but I feel I lost it. And then it sort of ends, right? It's only always pointed to the self-realization, and it's kept to that topic. And David really takes time to go into daily life and to make that easier as well. And
Yeah.
in the end, that will lead back, of course, to what we really are. But that is something I really appreciate.
One of the conversations that he had, he said, the mind is a transmitter and a receiver. And
Mm.
another light bulb went off, and I'm like, oh, that is very interesting. And as I just sat with that, it shows you, or there is an awareness of that you can put something out or you can receive. So you can put something out or you can receive,
Mm.
and you have the power to do both.
Yeah.
And it's like you just don't realize how powerful you are
Mhm.
until you really just keep going, 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 going.
Yeah.
And I know that David tends to refer to the movie The Matrix.
Mhm.
And I actually went back and rewatched the movie because I'm like, he talks about
Mhm.
that so much. And I think you can just skip through the whole movie and just watch like the very, what does it last 7 minutes or something when Neo just says, stop.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 None of this,
No.
I don't know, jumping over hurdles or dodging bullets or and I mean that euphemistically, like with real life things too. And it's uh I was listening to John Wheeler, and he said that even to use the words contraction and expansion puts a name on it.
Mhm.
And it's so, I overuse the word interesting now. So just
Mhm.
there's an awareness of that. But everything is just seems so interesting. And it is interesting because when you the moment you define something, the moment you give it a word, everything changes. Just like the word being, it could be
Mhm.
a noun or a verb.
Yeah.
So depending on who you're speaking the word to, if you're using it as a noun and they're hearing it as a verb or vice versa,
Mm.
it's like you're talking two different languages.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you want to just feel into everything.
Yeah. Exactly right.
And then, like, how do you feel into something? How do you give that gift of feeling? That is Gosh, that is just such an amazing opportunity to give that gift of feeling. And
Yeah.
I just speaking from Nancy, it's like if you're feeling it, others will feel it, and
Yes.
that's how it works. It just becomes part of the thing.
Yeah, exactly right. And what I love about it as well is you can test it anytime, any day, any night, always. Is it still there? Is it still the case? Is there awareness of? Is there quiet joy or peace or however you want to call it? I haven't found a moment where it's not there. And even with the most severe invitations going on, is does any invitation ever cause you to only be present and aware for 40% or 50 or 60? Never.
You know,
You're always
you
100%. It's
you said something in your book, and I wrote it down. I'm going to read it. It says,
Mhm.
"What I really am never moves. It just curiously views whatever arises."
Yes, exactly.
And I love that, just that one sentence. If
Yeah.
if someone is receiving unwanted invitations
Hmm.
and they simply stop and say, "What I really am never moves." Hmm. So
Hmm.
these invitations that are being noticed,
Hmm.
uh, they're moving. So if they're moving, that's not part of the awareness that I am.
Yes,
And
exactly.
you can be your own self-healer, I guess, even though
Hmm.
nothing needs healed. But if you're going to put words to it, that's a great way to,
Hmm.
oh, maybe self-soothe.
Oh, yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, instead of healing, because there's nothing that needs to be healed. But sometimes, everybody just wants that self-soothing, like,
Hmm.
you're, yeah, it's all good. And again, it's that return to love.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And then maybe asking the question, like, where are you seeking love from?
Hmm.
Because so many of us were taught that it's about a relationship or motherhood. I know for
Hmm.
myself, probably the first 30 years of my life, I just thought the only thing that was important was for me to get married, have children, and be the best mom that I could, and be a better mom than the mom I had.
Yeah.
And what's funny is now my mother is 88, and I am sharing these conversations with her.
Hmm.
Um, and she is open to them,
Yeah.
and she is like, we have conversations about it. She uses different language, where I say awareness, she likes to use the word God and Holy Spirit, and
Hmm.
that's okay. It doesn't matter. Everybody has their own language, but it's so freaking amazing at the kinds of conversations my mom and I have now. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, 30 years ago, if somebody was said, you know what, there's going to come a time when you and your mom are going to be having really loving, fantastic conversations, I would have said, what are you smoking? There is
Yeah.
no way that's going to happen. But oh my gosh, it does when you realize that there's nothing you need from another person.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
You have no needs. In reality, in truth, there are no needs.
yeah,
It's such a relief. It's such a freedom. And then everything comes to you anyway. But really, the moment you notice what it is that really has no needs, no boundaries, no gender, it doesn't move, indeed, it's stationary. But since it has no boundaries, it's limitless. It's so big. It, once you realize and you start looking at it and start describing it, while having no attributes, you can still kind of try to describe it. And you find out it's really that there's nothing to touch, right? that you can't really you can't notice with your senses. You can't, they're just not made for that, so to speak. So that's something that is in a way hopeless. And at the same time, it's the only thing that really exists, that truly exists, that's always here. And that is such a miracle to just realize that. It's, yeah, I'm still speechless sometimes, just looking at it.
Yeah, I know I said this before we started the recording that I feel like we could both just sit here and go blah, blah, blah. And both of us would know what the other is talking about.
Yeah.
It's just like this total spaciousness of awe. Like,
Yes.
oh. But getting back to what you were saying is
Mhm.
I was thinking that when you do feel that you really need something from someone,
Mhm.
that is like a perceived sense of separation from self.
Mhm. Yes.
And and one of the conversations, David, and he probably said this several times, but he said when he was talking about the demiurge, hold on, now the thoughts were going in another direction.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm, I wanted to, I know, it's bringing up the demiurge. Um, anyway, I
Mhm.
don't know that this is where the thought was going, but I'm going to say this is that it was very helpful to understand that you're either feeding the demiurge, meaning you're giving your energy to the demiurge. And oh, I think what was coming up was David said at one time, prioritize your own sovereignty.
Yes.
And I admit I had to look that word up in the dictionary, and it's interesting because at first it's talking about like states and government and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But then the next definition, and even one of my students said, I had to look that word up and I just went, oh. And when you really think about that, it's like prioritize your own sovereignty. What does that mean to you? What does omniscient mean to you? What does omnipresent mean to you? And you're either being that or you're taking what could be that and feeding it to the demiurge.
Yeah.
And of course, it's, I don't know, the mind can come in, and especially with religious dogma that pops up from childhood
Yeah.
and stuff, you start seeing it in different ways and it tries to categorize the demiurge. But one of the things I remember David saying to me is when people, we were talking about working with clients, and he said, really, just help them understand that life is an energy game.
Mhm.
And you know what? Again, right there. What is it called? Mic drop. That's it. That's all you got to say. We're done. Stop the recording. That's all you need to know. And it really is. It's like this energy, this flow. And I was talking to someone yesterday, and I was um referring to the wave in an ocean. And
Mhm.
she referred to like a slight breeze and wheat swaying in the breeze. And
Mhm.
whichever way you look at it, and then it was interesting because I don't know, within the last week or so, I came upon some videos by Richard Feynman.
Mhm.
And he talked about this one video about, when the wave moves in the ocean, we see it as movement, but it's just kind of like displacement of energy.
Mhm.
And I'm probably quoting him wrong, so I don't need everybody going, you got that wrong, Nancy. But um, the thing is, and I'll just be real honest, I didn't know who Richard Feynman was if it hadn't been for the Big Bang Theory. But I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And it's so funny how we think, I don't know these things. But again, it goes right back to what I said before. Whatever you need will come to you in the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
And instead of frantically saying, oh my God, I've got to write this down, I've got to remember this, it's just like if something needs to come up for you, it'll come up for you, and if not, it won't. And it's so calming, peaceful,
Yes. Yes.
peace at last, lasting peace.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. And also Peace at Last came to me, not only the title of the book, but the whole book. And mainly when sort of recreating the feeling of being stationary, which always happens when driving a car. I mean, you can always tell that you're stationary. If you just check in and you have a look, you will see that's how it is. And everything arises and disappears in your awareness.
Mhm.
But especially if you're looking to get that experience, what can really help is driving, I find, because you can't really afford to sleep. So you can't fall asleep. You stay awake. And also you're calm usually because the mind is busy. The mind has to do the driving, has to look at something, has to make sure, break, everything is happening. So the mind is sort of busy. You're not asleep, and that's the sweet spot in between. So driving, that's also where it came up. All of a sudden was like peace at last. That's it. That's the title. And I didn't even have a book. I just had a title. Like, okay, this is it. I have to write something. And then with everything else, the same happened. Every chapter or every sort of topic came up completely by itself. I didn't have to do anything for it. The only thing I did at some point was making notes in my phone to make sure, yeah, that I would be remembering, a couple of hours later. But that's really how it went. And you are in awe and you're just observing it. You see it happening. And because there is no person involved, there is no Rommy doing it. There's also this knowing, like, okay, this is gonna be nice. This will surprise Rommy. I'm curious how it will look once it's written. That's how it went actually.
Yeah, I find
Yeah.
myself going, oh, well, that's a good idea, speaking to no one.
Yeah.
Something will come up, and it's probably good that I live by myself, right? I'm like, well, that's a great idea. Okay, let's do that. And yeah, you just walk around, and even like when I'm working on things for the work that I do, and I'm like, oh, I'll just say something like, what do you think would be a good topic for blah? And then I'll go do the dishes.
Hmm.
And of course, my hands are wet, and then the inspiration will show up, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, hold on, I got to dry my hands so that I can just put this note
Oh yes.
in my notes, and then take a look at that later. And I can remember a time when I was so frantically trying to remember things and constantly writing them down. And I will say that even, first being introduced to David's work. And the funny thing is like I know that I came across David through Rhonda's book,
Hmm.
but it was well, this is so interesting because I found her book in the library on the library app. And so I listened to it a couple times, which prompted me to look for David. Then when I went back in the library app, the book was not there. Not even Not even like, I think it's in French or something. And I'm like, well, I know it's here because it was, and it's really interesting how what you need will be given to you. And then just let that, you don't have to figure out like, well, how did I get that information? Is this real? Can I trust this? And man, if it lights you up, trust it,
Hmm.
go with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's similar. I don't even know how I got to read the book because it was also the greatest secret.
Yeah.
And I know there was some judgment because of the secret.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to read part two of The Secret because, come on,
Me too.
manifestation and all of that. So I can't even tell you how it got into my hands because
Same thing.
my mind would tell me I'm not going to read it. I'm not interested.
That's the same thing with
But
me. And
I
I
did.
was, it's funny that we both said that. And I'm like, no,
Yep.
but it was such a strong, like, just listen to this audiobook. And I think too, because I listened to the audiobook and I could hear David
Hmm.
speaking. in the
Okay.
audiobook. And there was such hmm, a connection,
Mm-hmm.
energetic connection, vibrational connection. And I'm like, oh, who is this? I want to learn more. And Bob's your uncle, man. It just
Mm-hmm.
it just happened. And it's funny because that was over a year ago and more than almost 2 years ago. And it's funny because I remember there was such franticness about, oh, I've got to figure this out, or I've got to pay attention, or this means something, or whatever the mind was saying. And yeah, it's just like, no, just let it wash over you.
Yeah. I was reading the literal books. I didn't have the audiobook. And I also still don't know after reading it. And at the end, you have all these different teachers and people that influenced her. And
Mhm.
that's quite a list, right? It's page after page after page. And how I got stuck with David Bingham, I have
Yeah,
no idea. It's probably
yeah,
one of the names I've never heard of.
me
And
too.
that's the very one I was like, okay, let me look it up.
Yeah.
But I can't even remember how it happened. It's like completely gone.
Well, I know it was had something to do with his voice, which is the vibration of his voice. And then, yeah, just searching that. And then he mentioned in one of the interviews about hearing the interview with John Wheeler on
Mhm.
that radio show. So, of course, I went and listened to that. And then just
Mhm.
Sailor Bob and John Wheeler. And it's like it's like all the pieces of the puzzle just came together.
Yeah, that's right.
And now, here's the big $1 million question that I want to ask you. What are we doing now?
Yeah,
We've got this. It's amazing. What are we
yeah.
doing?
Play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wait. And I notice that sometimes there will be the mind kicking in of like, shouldn't you be doing a little more work? Shouldn't you
Mhm.
be blah, 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 whatever it's saying? Shouldn't you be thinking about writing another book? Shouldn't you be creating another class? Shouldn't you be whatever?
Mhm.
And I'm like, hmm. Or I could just sit and then have these beautiful, like I said, Richard Feynman videos,
Mhm.
and you just realize that everything comes together like a
Yeah,
puzzle.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound flippant. I know how it can sound, right? Like, what are we going to do? Play. Or I also remember my first in a conversation with David when he was saying that even like playing the role of Rommy will become easier. And I said that's so true. I'm even more proficient doing it because I don't care. And it sound in hindsight, listening to it, I thought, oh, that sounds quite harsh. But it's the same as what are you going to do? Play. I don't mean literally, I'm not literally playing the whole day, but who needs to do something for whom? Who doesn't understand something?
Yeah.
Like in the deepest core, that is really how it is. It's all fine. And if I forget, I look at my cat who lives that day in, day out, right?
Hmm.
Peaceful, serene, it's all fine. And then things appear by themselves. I never have to do anything for it. The day fills itself. Relatively real people appear, relatively real situations appear. And there is a curiosity and a sort of amusement in, hey, interesting. I'm curious how she will solve this one or what she will say now, she being Robbie.
Yes.
And that is just incredible. It's really nice to do. Sometimes also getting lost in the personality and then playing it as if you're in a soap opera, still enjoying the thing the whole way through, like the whole time. Because again, I've been testing this for 2 years, whatever happens, whatever the invitations are, physical, mental, emotional, however light or heavy they are, this quiet inner joy is always there. It just always is. And the only difference is, do we see it as a state that we want to be in all the time? That's problematic. Or do we recognize it as this is what I am? It's what I am. It's not what I experience. It's not what I hold on to, what I want to cling to, or what I can lose. It is what you are. It's the piece of nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And that is incredible. It really is. And I wonder, I'm curious also if you don't mind me asking you
Oh, sure.
some questions, because you also work with trauma, right? You're helping, especially women, I think,
Yes.
right? What
Hmm.
they do. For some reason, some things came into this life last couple of weeks. One is somebody that has attempted suicide twice, and really wants to get this, wants to understand it, and even admitted to me she got a little bit angry at, first of all, effortless being, like David's book, like the title. How how dare you call something effortless being? There's so much effort here, anxiety and depression. Um, and so I found it difficult, although being asked to guide someone to see it, right? To just also see that psychological suffering is optional.
Yes.
That is really how it is. But of course, it's something you don't want to say out just straight out there to someone that is, yeah, truly suffering, is also get on medication, etc. And that is one part that just happens some days ago. And the other part is that I had a conversation with someone whose fiance just uh, committed suicide, and just being in these first weeks of total shock. And I just wonder, how do you do that in that sense without, appearing to downplay what's going on?
No, I believe I understand the question because and I'm going to answer it this way. So when someone is saying this experience is real, this experience is real, and you say it's not real, it, it,
Yeah.
it's twofold, right? Because number one, it invalidates what they are wanting to experience in the moment, and yet on the other hand, you're pointing to something that they have the opportunity to look at. So I'll share with so my brother, there are five
Mm.
of us siblings. I'm the oldest, and then I'm talking about my brother Michael, the youngest. We're 5 years apart. And so we're like two sides of the same coin. I mean, we've been still very close our whole lives. And but we had a very traumatic childhood, um, and a lot of mental, physical abuse, verbal abuse, and for me, sexual abuse by the age of 12. So there was this trying to figure it out. And then when we would get together and we would talk about things, and but the interesting thing was, it's like we took two paths.
Mhm.
And this is going to, I believe, answer your question. We took two paths. So let's say that Nancy was looking at the path of um, spirituality, although not known that that's what it was. And Michael was taking the path of the demiurge in a big
Mm.
way.
Oh.
And so, there were times when he would mellow out, but then it was just like all of this anger and medication that he was on, and so much anger.
Mm.
And June 2016, he crashed his motorcycle and is now in a facility. He has severe traumatic brain injury, doesn't know who we are. And I often ask myself the question, it took, a while for me to just this because this was so devastating to me. Like, how could I lose him? But I have some very, oh gosh, just some really talented friends. And the day that I flew back, the day after the crash, and I flew back, and I was standing in his hospital room, and one of my friends is a very powerful channeler.
Mhm.
And I was standing at the foot of his bed, looking at him with all these tubes and everything. And my sister-in-law was his wife of only 4 years, was standing right beside me. And my phone kept buzzing, like texting. And I'm like, oh. And so I looked down because I was going to shut it off. And then I realized it was my friend. And she had no idea, of course, what was going on. But Yes, in another realm, she had an idea and she said, Nancy, I don't know what's going on, but I'm trying to do something and I just know that I need to give you this message. So she said, I'm going to give you this message and then hopefully this is what needs to happen. So she said, your brother wants to know why you're crying. He wants to
Mm.
know, um, what's wrong. He wants you to know that everything is okay. His soul is trying to decide if he's going to go or stay, and that's only a decision that he can make. And you are standing there thinking that this is somehow your responsibility, and it's not your responsibility. You've always felt responsible being the oldest, but it was never your responsibility. So allow this and allow him to choose.
Mhm.
And so through the choosing, he stayed, I'm going to say, in human form, but he doesn't know who we are. And so I'm like, well, what good did this do? I don't understand. Until I really got it, that Michael continues to teach me based on the path that he took. So, so if it could be like a simply, Nancy, you have a choice. You can follow this path that I followed, or you can continue on the path that you're doing, how you're learning and teaching and sharing. And you can use the example of Michael to let people know that there's always a choice.
Mhm.
Now, I share that to say that one of the things that came to me not too long ago was a realization that intensity is the invitation to remember what we are.
Mhm.
So that means like when you have those really intense emotions, those intense feelings, and you're just feeling like life is not worth living or whatever the intense feeling or emotion is, what if it's awareness, God, the universe, whatever source being, whatever someone's word for it is, tapping you on the shoulder and saying, okay, you have a choice.
Mhm.
Do you want to continue to feel this way? What you and I would say, do you want to continue to feed the demiurge with your
Mhm.
energy? But that might not be a conversation they're ready to have.
Yeah.
Or do you want to feel peace?
Mhm.
That is an option.
Yeah.
And so it's, but just asking the question gives them a choice
Mhm.
because they can choose to say, no, it's horrible, it's horrible, it's horrible. Like my brother could choose to be angry and angrier and angrier and angrier, or, he could choose the soft, I'll say soft, I like to say softer side, and to soften it. Try
Mhm.
softer. You're trying harder. What if you try softer?
Mhm.
And I have a martial arts background, so I tend to like kind of think into the martial arts when I think of things. And when you're trying really hard, it's like force meeting force. And no matter what happens, you're just pushing and pushing and nothing's going to happen. But all one person has to do is kind of step off and let this person just go flying by with their own energy. And that's kind of how I see it, is even the declining of the invitations. It's simply stepping off. We call it a parry, and just watch it. Oh, there you go. And so I don't believe that there is an answer for every person. I believe that every person has the opportunity to choose their
Mhm.
answer.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
And I explained this or gave this example about my brother because I know what it's like when you love someone so much with all your heart and soul and you just want them to not hurt anymore. I would
Mhm.
have given anything, like Michael, how could I help you have the peace that I have so that you're not so struggling with this so much?
Mhm.
And it's not. We can't do that. We can't give this to someone. All we can do, and I believe this is what David teaches, it's the embodiment of what he teaches. All we can do is point to it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a choice, and it might not seem like it, when someone is feeling like, oh my God, the world is crashing down and I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like life is not worth living. Well, that's also a choice.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Sailor Bob that I heard him say, it's like, okay, so what's wrong with this moment right now? What's wrong with this moment?
If you don't think about it.
Yeah. And when we can ask these types of questions to someone who is, I was, I'll say struggling in the moment or
Mm-hmm.
receiving unwanted invitations, it's kind of like it's just like coming in, coming in, coming in. It's it's asking a question that's not pertaining to
Mm-hmm.
the experience
Yeah.
because we can see the not the unanswer
Mm-hmm.
for them, but we don't know their path and we don't know, like I certainly would not have chosen that path for my brother.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the heck? I can't even have a conversation with you now. You're
Yeah.
here, but I can't have a conversation with you. Why? I don't understand this. And what I finally got to was that, oh my God, it's like there is so much love between us, our relationship, our connection, whatever you want to call it, that that was the path he chose to further the path that I chose.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could see it the opposite way. Maybe the path I chose drove him to be so angry. Like, why doesn't she see that this should be really
Mm-hmm.
horrible? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, who's feeding whom? You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And where is the peace? Where is the love? And again, it's got to be that return to love. Are you feeling that or are you resisting that? And if you're resisting that love, um, it again is a choice. And so for someone who is considering um, life not being worth living, sometimes it's helpful to say or ask, is there anything that you feel worthwhile in the role of Susan,
Mm-hmm.
John, whatever the name is?
Mm-hmm.
And it's sometimes it's just asking a different question to turn the perspective and shift the perspective
Mm-hmm.
to see it in a different light because um again, you could have two people just force meeting force and you think there's just no way out of this. And when one person just kind of loosens up and steps off, now there's a whole different perspective about this experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a question of, do you want to keep going toe to toe, just keep pushing on this, or do you want to relax?
Mm-hmm.
And I for me, I'm like, thank you to just be able to relax.
Mm-hmm.
I
Indeed.
appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything about that story helps your
Mm-hmm.
friend, please feel free to share, um, because it's just also I think I'm a big proponent about secrets. We keep
Mm-hmm.
secrets about things that happened and can't talk about this, and
Mm-hmm.
it just keeps the contraction getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and we can just let go and
Yeah.
release. Like, whoa, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to
Mm-hmm.
be.
Never is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, we started this conversation saying that, words are unnecessary, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes words are very necessary to also remind us of what we are,
Yeah.
kind, loving, um, joyful,
Mm.
loved, not loving, but loved. There are people that love you. There are people that appreciate you. Um, Perhaps the journey that you've chosen is something that is inspiring someone else or
Mm.
reminding someone like, whoa, I don't want that. I don't want that. And whatever it is, I just think whatever it is, it's the right one because
Mm.
it's the one that you're choosing in the moment.
Yeah, indeed.
And I think it was also Sailor Bob that said, you must be doing the right thing right now because if you were meant to be doing something else, you'd be doing it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I just want to reiterate for people listening, because it can be a very sensitive topic. I'm not saying in any way that we're using non-duality to fix
No.
thoughts of suicide or anything. I also said, right,
Yeah.
if there's anything wrong with the body, I also go see a doctor. And I'm not just going to say, hey, what I am has no toothache or whatever. So, of course, right,
Right.
fine. The only reason why we started talking about it is because she wanted to know, she wanted to ask, and she saw the book and she really didn't understand what it meant. So I just want to clarify that, right?
Yeah.
While eventually, in the big picture of everything, this is literally the solution. It really is, right? To see what you are. And with the so-called death of the ego that has never existed, psychological suffering does cease to exist because it is linked one-on-one to identification as a personality, as a person. So that is true. But on the other hand, I want to just clarify that, right? Don't try
Right.
this at home, of course not, right?
And because that could be what is meant in the moment for someone, whether it's medication,
Mhm.
therapy,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
whatever. Um,
exactly. Yeah,
and everything is a story, right? I
yes.
mean, like every path we choose is a different story. This person's story is this person's story is that. And really, it's about maybe listening to someone's story and then paying attention to how it lands on the body. If it feels like an expansion, like maybe that's a path you want to follow. If it feels like a
Mhm.
constriction, maybe that's uh, not the path you want to follow. Um, Gosh, I mean,
Mhm.
I've been through therapy. I've been through, I mean, it's just like I said, every person has the right to choose what's
Mhm.
best for them.
Mhm.
Yeah, without any um just no judgment.
Mhm.
No judgment. If you feel this is right for you, then follow that
Mhm.
and allow your internal guidance to guide you. And you'll know that. And really, that's what we're talking about. It's that love of self that is guiding us. And if you're feeling all out of sorts, that's not your inner source guiding you. That's external, what we
Yeah.
would call the demiurge or the matrix, whatever you want
Mhm.
to, duality, whatever somebody wants to call it. But
Mhm.
when we get used to feeling into that love of self, it's very peaceful.
Yeah.
So, did that help answer the question?
Mhm.
Good.
I was just wondering how, in your own practice, how you would, in a concrete way, approach it, or how you would respond to a question like that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because when somebody comes to you and they say, well, I've been physically abused, sexually abused, and you can't just say, oh gosh, it's just a story in your head.
Mhm.
Um, because there is a definite path for everyone. And it is being able to open it up and take a look at it. And really it's coming at it from non-judgment. I think that's the most
Mhm.
important thing. Don't you feel
Exactly.
like that's where we struggle the most is when we judge ourselves?
Hmm.
I should not be here, or I should be
Yeah.
smarter than this. I should be farther along, whatever the shoulds are that we do.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to ask you too,
Mhm.
you had talked about your next book coming out about the Enneagram. Are you working on that? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so it's sort of coming up in the mind.
Hmm.
It has a bit of a layout already, but I have not started writing yet because I'm really waiting also for that sort of effortless
Yes.
typing to happen. I don't want to force it.
Yes.
And what came out of creativity in that sense is the combination of indeed peace at last or effortless being, non-duality with the Enneagram. Um, Keeping in mind that the Enneagram has always been, in its essence, the key to freedom, to self-realization. That's what it's meant for, by
Hmm.
showing you what you're not, right?
Yes. Yes.
The 9 different Enneagram types, which in reality are way more than that because it's very subtle and it's like a fluid spectrum, so to speak. But these days, especially in the West, it is being used as a tool for communication training, career steps, ambition,
Yeah.
and fully identifying with the type. It's me, and then defending it and being happy with the unique qualities and be really upset about the not so good qualities and trying to get them into a better state, which is very helpful in the relative area of living because it does make your life nicer. And I always call it um, decorating the prison cell. So
Hmm.
it does that, and it's a way better prison cell, and you live nicer. But that's of course not what I'm doing with this book. And what I hope I can do is by describing the types as well as I can in such a way that people will recognize their own type, their own vehicle or avatar that they're driving in.
Yes.
So without a doubt, recognizing the pattern, the program, the matrix, right? The ego
Right.
program that's running, because that's what it is. Um, and in that way, as happened to me, be more proficient in recognizing the tailor-made invitations because they are tailor-made based on the type.
Yes.
Whereas there are invitations for 7 or 8 other types that you will be shrugging your shoulders, like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's not pleasant, is it? Or it would be nice to be successful, but who cares? Well, for some people, it's life or death,
Yes.
successful or not successful, losing face or not.
Yeah.
So this one would never really hit me that well because I'm not the type number 3, for example. A 3 for them it would be very heavy. But finding the specific invitations for type 6 in my case, writing them down, and the moment they come by and they visit again, instead of saying, "Oh my God, it's this one," you can say, "Wait, it is number 3 on the list." Ooh, it's a completely different situation. It's very light. It's funny. It's even amusing because you talk about the number so and so on the list. That's number one. So that is basically catching the invitation before it really starts hitting or before you start identifying too much and then having to react in the exact same way that will bring you what you wanted to avoid.
Yeah.
And by realizing what you truly are. And that is where I'm also going to contact people in our group, the WhatsApp group around David Bingham. I think if I manage to interview all 9 types after realization and have a bit before and after, like how can life look for a type 9 after realization? I'm quite sure there's just this feeling of knowing inside of me that if a type 9 that thinks they are not realized yet, because it's only just an innocent thought that we believe,
Yeah.
if they read from other type 9s how their life looks day by day, seeing what they really are, I'm sure this will trigger something inside. It will trigger what they already know. And that is my purpose. That's the intention of the book. For some reason that it needs to come out.
No, I love that because what I'm hearing from you, it's like someone maybe is not recognizing the invitation that they continue to receive. And
Yes.
it's like David used the analogy of, when you order on Amazon and you look at a pan, and so the Amazon keeps sending you ads for pans, and you're like,
Yes.
oh, why do I? And then you just stop looking at those ads for pans, it'll stop sending you the ad. And kind of that's like the the example that I'm seeing from you is like when you're showing them then this ad of the Enneagram, they'll be like, oh, it's because I keep clicking on that ad.
Mhm.
Okay, I get it. No,
Yeah,
I think that's going to be phenomenal.
yeah, yeah. So that's
Fantastic.
the idea. Yeah, yeah.
Well, if there's anything I can do to help support that, you just let me know.
Well, thank you, thank you. I will reach
Yeah,
out. I will reach out. Can you
sure.
find the type? And then it would be great to interview to just see how what it's like. It's just as a small example. As a type 7 called the enthusiast. Their deadly sin, so to speak, in ego life is gluttony. You know, it's one of the deadly sins of the Bible. We all have one, plus two that fell off the wagon somewhere, because it's 9 types. But gluttony is really, that's also something that can hamper a 7 in their life. It's too much of everything that they like, and then being scattered and being overwhelmed and getting too many triggers. At the same time, being addicted to it because they don't want to be in the present moment. They want to escape
Yeah,
anything painful or boring. However, a self-realized 7, that is joy, is pure joy. And every single type has exactly these things. And it's again words, right? But I saw also in your face, I saw your face lighting up when you hear the word like pure joy, like playful, pure joy.
yeah,
That is really the potential, and that's already what's in there. But it's being, yeah, how would you say it? I've just lost the word now. Yeah, it will come back. But basically, the wrong version of it is coming out. It's like a bastardized version of it because we look through it at it through the ego. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I think you're,
Corrupted. It's being corrupted. That's what I was looking for. It's being corrupted. Yeah,
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 you're,
yeah,
it feels exciting to me what you're talking about because I can feel that you are sharing the Enneagram for what it was meant to be
yeah.
shared about, or shared for. And
Hmm.
um, along with self-realization, like non-stoppable,
Yeah,
unstoppable.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
fantastic.
yeah,
Well, Rami, I feel very complete. How about you?
yes, yes,
I do.
definitely, definitely.
And I really appreciate this conversation that we've had. And for whoever needed to hear this information or just watch two women
Mhm.
having a fun conversation, or, wondering like, who is this David Bingham guy? Go check it out. I will put um, a link to it in the description, of course, everything that we talked about. So, yeah, we're here, we're loving life, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I just want to add, it is possible.
Yeah,
It really is.
yeah,
And at some point, I was doubting it. I was really thinking, it's these books, it's spiritual books, it's whatever to make you feel better. But who knows if it really works? And I can only say it does. It really is worth it. It's the most important thing to discover, I would say.
yeah. And I think, there's so much going on in the world today.
Yeah.
And when we realize it's just simply energy shifting and moving, and there could be teachers that you had a lot of faith in that now you're like, oh my gosh, you're questioning things. And so you're wondering if what you were holding on to and feeling so wonderful about is really true. And the thing is like every truth is inside each one of us individually. So,
Mhm.
what better way to feed the demiurge than to malign a teacher that had a huge impact on your life? And so, all in all we can do is ask ourselves, how does this land on me? How do I feel? Do I feel expanded or contracted? And follow that.
Yeah.
And and as much as possible, follow that with non-judgment.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Fully agree. Beautiful.
Thank you, Rami. I really appreciate you being here and having this conversation. And life is fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.